My guest today is former teacher, now speaker, author, and educational consultant, Franklin Shargel. He lives in Albuquerque. He's written 14 books on education-related topics. That includes his latest, published earlier this year, Preventing School Violence, A User's Guide. Thank you for joining us today, Mr. Shargel.
Thank you for the invitation.
Can you start by telling us just a little bit about yourself and your history in education?
I was raised in New York City and spent all my professional life working in New York City high schools, starting first at Benjamin Franklin High School in Harlem, and then went into the Army, and then came out, and Board of Education rewarded me, I think, for my service in the military, and sent me to one of the best high schools in the city of New York, James Madison High School. Ruth Bader Ginsburg graduated from that school. Chuck Schumer graduated from that school. And the school was fine. I was there for 22 years, and then the school was integrated. The school was largely, prior to its integration, largely Jewish and Italian, and then they brought in African American students, and we had a race riot. One student was shot and killed in the school protecting his leather jacket. So I transferred to George Westinghouse Career and Technical High School, and a student was shot and paralyzed by an intruder, even though we had a metal detector at the front door, and school safety officers, school resource officers in the school. And while at Westinghouse, I developed 15 strategies which would stop children from dropping out of school. Westinghouse is a Title I school, which is all minority, and reduced the dropout rate, documented from 21.9 to 2.1%, and sent 72% of our first generation high school graduates to post-secondary school, and developed 15 strategy. Two governors here in New Mexico saw what I was doing. We also had a PBS special, and asked me, invited me here. And so I've been here for 23 years, almost 23 years.
Sure. So obviously with those two horrible stories, you do have some history, firsthand history with school violence.
Yes.
And how disheartening now is it to see that it's persisted for this long? And is that why you decided to write this book now?
The answer is yes. I am extremely distraught about this whole incident in Texas. We've been here before. Unfortunately, my belief is we will be here again. That book took 3 years of my life. The research came from FBI, Secret Service, National Threat Assessment Agency, National Institutes of Health, and Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, as well as my personal experience.
In that research and after the horrifying event in Uvalde, did you find any clues to the question that a lot of people are asking now, which is, why does this only seem to be happening in the United States?
First of all, it's the availability of weapons. We have more weapons in the United States than we have people. And that's an estimate from the FBI and Secret Service and National Threat Assessment. So we really don't have an exact count. And it's not spread evenly across the United States. The average gun owner owns 8 guns. And we just have too many guns in the country, and we also have far more weapons of war. The AR-15 is a weapon of war. It doesn't send out a bullet it's in the movies, it tumbles. It's a high velocity, and we're selling clips with 15 or 30 rounds of ammunition. So within seconds, those bullets are spit out and tumble and rip bodies apart. And so I can imagine the horror of these parents having to bring, in Texas, having to bring DNA because their children have been shredded.
Horrifying. And, you know, we've heard some rhetoric from both sides, politically speaking. And from pro-gun activists and conservative factions, it's kind of the same stuff, like mitigation solutions, kind of. Like arming teachers, that's one that's been thrown around. On social media, we've seen ideas like giving kids Kevlar backpacks. Are these reactionary steps a viable solution?
Absolutely not. First of all, the average educator went into education because they love children, and 70 to 80% are female. I would not want an elementary school teacher in a classroom with 9 and 10-year-olds to have a weapon to be used. Second, arming teachers, when I got my driver's license, I had to take a driver's test. The killer in Texas simply walked into a store and purchased a weapon of war. And that's an insanity. You can't get a driver's license unless you take the test. When I went into the military, I had to take 8 weeks of training learning how to fire a weapon and qualify for that weapon. That's not a requirement now. We need to start putting some restrictions, especially on weapons of war, so that somebody can't walk into a store and say, I would like a weapon, I've just turned 18, and have to wait until he's 21 in order to drive a car.
Something we've heard for years now in mass shootings, regardless of whether or not a school's been involved, is the good guy with a gun solves all mentality or theory. Does your research support that is valid?
No, I think we're getting distorted evidence. First of all, we're preparing students for the wrong kind of an intruder, with the exception of Sandy Hook, where another elementary school was involved in Connecticut. The students, most of the incidents are caused by people who are former students, students in the school, or students in other schools. They're not intruders. So we're not preparing the schools to deal with the realities of the situation, but the realities that we would like to. We are also spending a large sum of money. I've read various figures that it's in the billions of dollars across the United States to prepare schools for armament, putting in metal detectors and putting in, and metal detectors in schools don't work. There are too many entrances and exits. They're unlike airports or even supermarkets where there's basically 1 or 2 entrances. If you're in a high school that has 1,800 or 3,500 students, you have to have multiple exits, and they have to be open. You cannot have them locked. You do have, power, but you can't have school, because if there's a fire, God forbid, those students will not get out. Also, part of what the book recommends is we should stop anyone who comes into a school with bulletproof book bags. That makes no sense at all. In fact, book bags should be made out of clear plastic. So if anyone is bringing a weapon into a school, whether it be a gun or a knife or a bayonet or whatever, it would be more visible. We're never going to stop all people, basically crazy people, from coming into school with weapons, but we can cut down on it if we get ahead of the curve and prevent it instead of dealing with the dramatization after it takes place.
In New Mexico, we've dealt with the horrifying reality of a school shooting recently. A 13-year-old was shot and killed a classmate at lunch at Washington Middle School last year. In response, Democrats in the State House introduced legislation that would strengthen consequences for adults who fail to keep guns out of the hands of minors. Is that a necessary step?
That's on the right path, but we need to identify, as the book does, several steps before an event takes place. We need to provide enough mental health for youngsters. We have school safety officers, and they're a vital necessity, especially in today's world, especially in the United States. But we also need mental health. We do not have an adequate number of school counselors. We do not have an adequate number of school psychologists. We have school nurses who travel from school to school. The average caseload of school counselors in the United States is one counselor to 450 students. That's providing crash counseling. There is not a sufficient number, and we're losing teachers. And this incident in Vivaldi is simply going to make it worse. I've spoken to teachers here in Albuquerque who are saying they're not going to go back. They are starting to submit their own papers for retirement leave. The Education Week reported that 1 out of every 5 school superintendents will be retiring in the next 2 years. That's school leadership. That is providing a vision. We do not have an adequate number of substitute teachers. We're asking teachers, in addition to teaching their caseload and developing lesson plans, to teach additional classes. Where we do not have an adequate number of special ed teachers, and we can't find special ed teachers who have got to have specialized training. The future of America is in its classrooms. And I believe that chambers of commerce and politicians need to recognize that, because the first question people ask when they move into a new community is, how are your schools? Now they're going to be asking, how safe are your schools?
The New Mexico governor, she recently enacted in the legislature also the pay raises for teachers, hoping that that would encourage more people to join the workforce. Is that, obviously that's a step in the right direction for keeping and retaining, but what else needs to change as far as our mentality of protecting our educators and valuing our educators?
First of all, it was a good first step on the part of our governor, but the reality is the governor, in order to get an adequate number of people in classrooms, warm body in classrooms, had to recruit the National Guard to go into classrooms and serve as teachers without adequate training. So yes, raising the salary of educators is a vital part of that process, but we still have school aides in our schools who are making less money today than if they worked at Walmart or if they drove a truck. Now, trucks are also a vital necessity in our economy, especially with the situation we're now facing with COVID. But Walmart is starting their truck drivers at $100,000. Teacher here now starts at $50,000, and school aides, as I pointed out, are making less than $15. As I pointed out, our businesses have got to get involved with our schools. Our chambers of commerce have got to realize that schools are a vital necessity to the economy of the city of Albuquerque and this state.
You mentioned mental health services not too long ago, and as it seems to be, it's turned into an either-or conversation for a lot of people. Gun rights, or gun control, or mental health services, but that's not really the reality, is it? Those two can work together.
Now, there's a section in the book which I call Child Anxiety, Stress, and Trauma. Everyone goes through anxiety, stress, and trauma. You and I both have gone through and continue to go through anxiety, stress, and trauma, and I'm sure COVID has increased that. But we have mechanisms to deal with it. A 4, 5, 6, 10-year-old, 12-year-old, 15-year-old a child does not have those mechanisms, and they go through anxiety, stress, and trauma. Prior to publication, I had 2 psychologists read that section, and because I call that child PTSD, And both of them came back and said, Franklin, you're absolutely right, because the symptoms are identical. So we recognize PTSD among our vets who are returning from combat situations. We're not recognizing it among our children.
Mr. Franklin Shargel, thanks for joining us today, and we appreciate
Thank
your
you for the
comments.
invitation. Thank you for the time.
Thank you.